Welcome back, y'all. To You Make Me Sick TV. Yes, I've been in Texas, y'all. So if you thought I said y'all to begin with because I live in North Carolina, now I say it more. Don't ask me why. Nobody said that to me in Texas. Actually, I didn't even see any cowboy hats in Texas until I asked to see some cowboys. And I was taken to the Fort Worth area to see the cattle run. Which was amazing. It was really quick. I took a video of it. It was about a minute long, and it was beautiful to see these huge, lovely animals with these like big, huge horns. I got a picture with one that wasn't alive. It was stuffed. But anyway, that's Texas. Woo! And they were beautiful. Whoever did the taxidermy on them, their eyes were just beautiful. Anyway, I was a little nervous about going to Texas because of the climate and the political atmosphere right now. And, but I thought, how bad can it be? North Carolina seems to be fine on the outside. I don't know what's really going on under the radar here, but I know I've met people from Texas here because this is kind of like a melting pot here too. And almost everyone I've met there from Texas, I've gotten along really well with, and most people, and actually have really, really, really good friends that were raised in Texas, and so I love them, and so I thought, why not take a trip when I was offered one? So I went, and like I said, because I'm so interested in politics now, I just wanted to see what was going on there, and it basically felt like similar to here, which was, you have people just not really talking about what's going on in their everyday life if they're working, if they have free time on their hands like I do and a lot of women my age do that I know because I was a housewife. We have time on our hands, and we're trying to help democracy prevail during this administration, and I found the same thing down there. So I was happy to hear that. Greg Abbott gave me a really bad taste in my mouth, speaking about You Make Me Sick TV. He gives me like this sick stomach feeling just when he talked about the floods down in Texas. So I thought I was going to be like surrounded by people like that, but I absolutely was not. And then while I was there, Paxton was mentioned, Ken Paxton, which happens to be the the Attorney General of Texas, and they were talking about him. So when I came home, I did a little dig up because I saw him during the flooding too. And again, I feel like Paxton and Abbott are definitely corrupt. And the more I looked into them, the more it became clear. I had to stop looking into it. There are so many trails of corruption with those two, just like the people in the White House right now, but nobody seems to care, and they let them run these states, and they let them run our country, and they just won't go away. And I'm not saying this is anything new and exclusive to Republicans, but it's being flagrantly pushed down everybody's throat right now, and that's what I'm hearing. And a lot of people that are paying attention don't like it. Some people aren't paying attention, and unfortunately, they're really not informed with what's going on. So I tried to deliver the facts I know the best way I can before somebody, puts their guard up, which obviously happens to some people too. But with Paxton, right now, his wife, who is a U.S. Senate, he's running for U.S. Senate, and his wife is a senator, and she filed for divorce this summer, 2025, for biblical reasons, because he's allegedly cheated on her, and from what I've read and on the reports, multiple times, and she's finally decided to divorce him after 38 years. So they're both in the Republican Party. He's the AG. I forgot if she's the state senator or the U.S. senator. And he's going to be running for senator. You just can't get rid of him or Abbott. They just don't go away. They've been there forever, and it's just disgusting. I mean, Paxton 5 months ago violated the Texas Whistleblower Act, and he was ordered to pay 4 of his employees $6.6 million after the 4 employees reported him for the abuse of power he used at his office. They weren't comfortable with it. He was impeached, but of course he was acquitted. Just like we know now, if Donald Trump was impeached, he would be acquitted by the brainwashed MAGA people that are either getting really well paid, or they're getting threatened, or they're running for their lives. I don't know which it is. But like I said, the more you go down this road, the more ugly it gets. And I actually had it to stop. But I'm going to keep an eye on him. And I think everybody should keep an eye on Ken Paxton, because he's still, in the government down there in Texas. And Texas is not being well represented for the actual communities that now exist in 2025. I've seen it myself. They redid the voting maps to keep minorities from voting. From what I understand, ICE is going to be down there on voting days. ICE is already there, by the way. So also Paxton, one more note on him. He's been accused, and quietly a series of allegations have been dropped against him of human trafficking and child sexual assault cases. He also displayed child pornography in a meeting in Austin to make a point. He actually had a video put up of a man raping a small child. So that is just disgusting. And there's just so much I can say about him, but I'm going to stop there. And Texas is a beautiful place. I mean, it's just like any other place. It's really built up now. There's lots of lanes to drive in, kind of like, Florida or Raleigh or, any big city you go to, New York. But it's just not for me now. I'd rather live in the country roads part to it. But it seems fine. People seem able to live their everyday life while they're there, which was great for me to see. And it was great to speak to a lot of people that feel the same way as me. One thing is that also Paxton has fought over and over again, for females to have access to abortions. And that disgusses me across, and it doesn't get as much attention as I would like these days, because everything else that Trump is throwing in our face. But I mean, I wouldn't live in Texas just for that reason alone, because one, they change their voting maps like every year. They raise their taxes, property taxes every year, but they can't go past 10%. So even though they don't charge state taxes, they can do all these other things that are a wash. So I wouldn't feel well represented down there, because also they thought, Paxton thought and Abbott thought the 2020 election was a fraud. They're against any immigration policy that has been tried to put through by the Democrats, of course. They'd rather take them down the way government is taking them down now in 2025, which is absolutely disgusting to me and many people I meet. So also the First Amendment is being, hold on, I'm getting a message. I thought I shut those off. The First Amendment in Texas is being attacked, you know, because you could hear our president attack it all the time, especially since, sorry, I got another message. It's being attacked all the time, especially since Kirk was shot while he was talking about guns at a university in Utah. I don't like that they're actually taking action in Texas on our First Amendment there too. That makes me feel unsafe. While I was enjoying a delicious meal in downtown Fort Worth, which I have to say, kudos Texas, y'all have some great, authentic, ethnic, which means like immigration from other countries, Italian, Mexican. This one was Istanbul Grill in downtown Fort Worth, and we had a lovely meal. We ended up talking about politics all night, and the meal was still lovely. While we were trying to get there from the cattle run, we hit a little bit of traffic. They said an event was ahead, and that's why we were hitting it. And then I found out in the restaurant that it was because they were having a rally for Charlie Kirk. Little me from North Carolina thought that it was a protest because I don't like the hate he spewed from his mouth while he was speaking to large number of young people. Not at all. And so I assumed it was against how him and others speak against people like me and others, women, minorities, and all rights, and people that don't believe in the religion he believes in. So they said it was in support of Charlie Kirk, and that's why some streets were closed. So I found that interesting. Another fact while I was in Dallas was I pulled up the weather app to see, you know, I like to see what the weather's going to be before I leave for a trip so I could dress accordingly. And while I was there, I noticed it was kind of like smog in the air, a lot of white, not dark, but like, you know, smoke, smoggy. So I pulled up the weather app, checked the temperature, and scrolled down to the UV to see if I needed some sunblock. And I noticed that the air quality number was 110. 110. I found that, and I said, okay, to self, that's not a surprise. Look at the sky. I could have guessed that on my own. And then I looked at my hometown, well, not my hometown, my town in North Carolina that I live in, and it said it was 36 degrees, something like that. And I was like, whoa, that's like a huge difference. And I know Dallas is a huge city, but government officials, let's get a handle on that. I mean, I could actually see it while I was down there. I mean, it wasn't every day 110, but meanwhile you have like Lee Zeldin, the head of the EPA, pushing back all of these, environmental friendly acts. And I just want to tell everybody, if you ever look up Lee Zeldin's background, you will find he has zero science background. Zero. He's an attorney from New York, Long Island, New York, where I grew up. And he looks like he grew up in the Trump mindset, because anything he says is not anything that the EPA has ever put out in public. Okay? Just so you know. Lee Zeldin, head of our Environmental Protection Agency has no science background. So I personally don't believe a word he says. I know some people don't like to believe facts, like our president. So if you want to just put your blinders on and move forward, go ahead. But I like facts. I'm also very intuitive. So I like facts. And I like intuition. So it was my absolute honor to be there in Dallas and be with some friends and people that I feel like will be part of my extended family for the rest of my life, really. I love them, and we had a great time whenever we were together. I got to go swimming a lot, which I love to do. If you listen to me, you know that that's what I love. So I got the honor of being a public observer. Well, I shadowed one, and my friend and I, we shadowed one. So that was like 3 white women my age going into a federal court, a building. You know, we had to walk through, you know, security and all that. And I know now not to take my pepper spray because it always gets taken away, duh. And I've had my lipstick. If you ever had like a metal case lipstick from like Yves Saint Laurent or Estee Lauder, they'll take that away from you at the airport. I don't know if they'll take it away from you at a federal building, but I've also had it taken away when I was in Nashville. I went to go see Nashville Predators ice hockey game play our Carolina Hurricanes, and I got my lipstick or my then pepper spray taken away there. They just throw right in the garbage. I'm like, just give the pepper spray to some other female, please, but whatever. Let's move on. So I got to actually go into the federal building, up to the courthouses, the courtrooms, and be a part of the waiting room. And another woman that is well connected in the community that was a big part of this public observing group was there. So that made us 4 white women in the waiting room at the courthouse. And then we met a full immigrant family there. The whole waiting room was full, on 2 different floors, full of immigrant families. And they were dressed like they were going to a wedding, y'all, because their livelihoods were on the line that day. Their families were going to get separated, or they weren't that day. They were going to get a stay, or they weren't that day. From what I understand, if you get a 1-year stay, that's perfect right now in this climate, because you don't get separated from your family. If you get more than that, like a 2-year stay or more, anything could happen to you. So it's a little dangerous. Like, what if you got a traffic ticket at a stop sign, or you were speeding, or I don't know, anything that happens to any of us that's very normal. If that happened to somebody that is here on stay, because our current president has made it that way. Okay, let's remember they're not criminals. Everyone seems to think they're criminals. They have not committed a crime. And people like fight me on this, but look it up. They have not committed a crime. Being here without papers is not a crime. And Trump has made it that way. He took away everybody's stay. Suddenly, he just pulled the rug out of everybody. And he's just treating these people inhumane. So while I was there, I got close with a specific family that the woman I was shadowing was assigned to the night before. And it broke my heart. It was his mother. Him himself was a 9th grader, and his little sister. And again, all dressed up like they were going to a wedding. And I sat there and we all spent time. His teacher was there, being his advocate. So that made us 5 white women in a waiting room where people were just scared for their lives. And at first they didn't know what to think, what we were doing there, and I don't blame them. But then they realized we were there in love and support for them. We were there to bring them peace, to go into the courtrooms, to make sure justice was being served up properly, even though we weren't allowed to bring our cameras in. We actually got some crayons and some coloring pages that this woman usually brings to give to the kids there, because there was quite a few kids to each family, whether they were newborns, toddlers, in their mama's arms sleeping, just anything to keep these children busy, because they were there for hours and they were hungry. They were tired, but they're expected to sit there quietly. Okay? There's just so many people in this room. So because that day there was so many people that were called into the courtroom, we actually couldn't go in the courtroom. What we would just usually do, from what I'm told, is just see if people were being treated the way people are supposed to be treated in the courtrooms, as well as in the waiting rooms. So we couldn't get in that day because there was so many people in. We also spoke to other people while we were on the floor waiting that also didn't go into the courtrooms, but their loved ones did. And also I checked the building with the woman I was with for ICE, because apparently ICE shows up there all the time. She showed me a picture of what they look like because she's taken a picture. Apparently you're allowed to take photos on the carpet part of the floors. But not on the non-carpet part of the floors, which was the courtroom and the waiting room. But where ICE hangs out by these double doors, she showed me pictures of them, and they were on the carpet. So if they were there, we could take pictures of them. And she found it odd that they weren't there, because she said usually they were. So me being intuitive like I just thought, that's not a coincidence, as Kung Fu Panda would say. If you ever have kids back in like 1999 or 2000, I don't remember what year it was, early 2000, but Kung Fu Panda said there's no such things as coincidence. And there's not. I always feel like there's a connection for everything, whether you realize it or believe it or not. So it took hours for these families to come out, and we were just devastated over what was going to happen to the 9th grader that was in high school. He's on the football team. He was in the college/high school program, which again, I have 3 kids, so I know about this program because my oldest son's friends took advantage of this. This is where you could go to school your first year of high school and actually come out of high school. It takes 5 years, but you graduate high school and you would also have your 2-year associate's degree, which is pretty cool, all for free. You know, it was all through the public school. So this young man was saying, and his teacher that was there advocating for him was saying he was doing this, and we were just couldn't wait for him to come out. People were coming out with good news. You could say they were smiling, and when he came out with his mom and his little sister, they were smiling and crying, and then we just all started smiling and crying. And the teacher was hugging them, and then they each came over and hugged us all for our support. And like we were a gift to them, but they were a gift to me. It was just so amazing to spend time with other people that are out there worried every day, you know, being apart or not being apart. So that was definitely a highlight of my day there, besides talking with other women just like me. And unfortunately, I woke up the next morning after I spent the day in the courthouse. I think That was a Wednesday. I'm not sure though. But the very next morning I woke up and then there was the shooting in Dallas, remember? So it was like I went to like feeling good about there was no ice there, but why isn't ice not there? And the next day in the morning, first thing, there was a shooting at the Dallas ICE facility where the detainees stay, and 3 people that are detainees got killed, but nobody in ICE was hurt. No police officers were hurt. But yet they are running with this. Our president is running with this, like, how dare they attack our government protection and ICE and police force like this? We are doubling down. You know, nobody was even shot that had a badge or pretends to have a badge. It was the people that stays there and are detained there against their will that were shot and killed. So again, you can't believe a word they say. And then Kash Patel posts this, like, after the press conference comes out, which I usually like to watch, but it seems like every day they're like less and less allowed to report what's actually happening. Everything has to go through Homeland Security or Trump now, so everything's being watered down or not told. So it's really hard to like be here and listen to this press conference of the same city I was staying at, and like then Kash Patel, after the press conference, tells us everything they know thus far at that moment last week. Kash Patel posts the 5 bullet casings, and one in the center is so perfectly turned to say anti-ICE on it. But none of the ICE were hit. And how could you, I don't know, hit detainees and not ICE if you're anti-ICE? I don't know. See, that doesn't make sense to me. Does it make sense to you? I just don't know what that means. So that was weird. ICE wasn't at the facility, but then they were at the detainee. I mean, they weren't at the courthouse, but then they were where the shooting happened. Then the very next morning. Really weird. I don't know what's going on there. So if you know, maybe you could figure it out. I was actually there. I was actually in the same town and nobody was even talking about it. So I really don't know what's going on there. So that's about it. I flew home from Texas, feeling good about my visit. Like I said, I spent a lot of time with some really great people that I already miss. And I got this shirt from, this is a Dallas cowboy shirt, believe it or not. Some of you might know, and I'm not really a football fan, but I love pink. So thank you so much for the shirt. Mwah. I know you know who you are, but I don't want to mention any names because of the climate we're in. I love y'all so much. And that's about it. On that note, I will say until next time. Please like and subscribe. It's free and it just gives You Make Me Sick TV a boost.